Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we'll be doing a little NBA trade intel. Shout out Mike Scotto of HoopsHype.com. He had a little podcast and he dropped this information. So Yossi Gozlan, hopefully I said that correctly, discusses the rookie scale contract extension negotiations that fizzled for Cameron Johnson, PJ Washington, Grant Williams, and others. And the reason why I called this a trade intel is these are guys that could get traded either this season or in the offseason. So I think Cam Johnson isn't going to be someone who gets traded. And right here, Scotto says it why. And Scotto says that they discussed a $66 to $72 million contract with Cam Johnson at different points this offseason. And that was a similar deal to what Davis Bertans, Joe Harris, and Duncan Robinson have all gotten. And so far, Johnson was having a career high 43% shooting and he was playing well. And we knew that he didn't accept the $66 to $72 million deal because he believed he could get more, which was a good thing. But they don't want to pay him the 4-year, $90 million deal that Mikal Bridges got because Johnson's 27 years old. That does make sense. Now, regardless with the torn meniscus or not, we saw last year Colin Sexton missed basically the entire year, get a 4-year, $72 million deal. I expect a similar deal for Cam Johnson with the salary cap rising, with everything happening in the league. It makes zero to no sense for him not to be given the opportunity to be given a 4-year deal. He'll be 31 when that deal expires. It's only $16 million or $18 million a year. With the rising salary cap, that's a good deal for a guy who's a 4th or 5th option on a championship team. Now, let's go over here to PJ Washington. And PJ Washington was a guy that was offered $50 to $52 million over 4 years, which was smart of him to decline. Why? Because that's going to be a mid-level exception in a few years. And for him, he's a guy who's averaging 15 points, 1 block, 1 steal a game as a full-time starter. And he's a guy who could easily get 4 years, $72 million. But if he continues to average the stats, he's right now like averaging 15, 7 rebounds. I think it was several assists a game with a block and a steal while shooting well from 3. He's a guy who could easily get 4 years, $72 million, but a guy could also get 4-year, $80 million. And that's something that he was asking. He was asking to be paid $20 a year. And I think $20 a year for PJ Washington is good because he's a guy who could play multiple positions and be a rather useful player for you on your team. And for me, I just think that's a lot more valuable than what people are considering. And I bet you he doesn't want to be in Charlotte. Grant Williams. So Grant Williams was never offered more than $50 million guaranteed over 4 years. Some even less than our man PJ Washington. And Williams would have taken a deal for a $14 million annual. And the crazy part about that is that would have been meant the deal would have been like 56. So he's going to get a bunch. Okay, there's belief that he's going to get $18 million a year. And the reason why they didn't want to offer him $14 million a year is the 4-5 stretch big market of PJ Tucker, Maxi Kleber, Larry Nance. All those guys are getting 11 to 12. And he declined this. Similar reason to PJ Washington is that $50 million that they were offering was the equivalent to the mid-level exception in a few seasons. So now that he was saying I would have taken 56, but now he's looking at a guy who could get 72 because he's a multi-positional player, not just a hybrid defensive player. So I think this is a great for Grant Williams. Now, out of these, I think Grant Williams and PJ Washington's the most likely to be traded out of these 3 guys. I think Cam Johnson stays. I could see PJ Washington and Grant Williams being signed in trades if they do end up leaving. Cam Reddish is a guy I could see stay or he could get traded this season. There weren't any trade extension talks for Cam Reddish, but the thing is with Cam Reddish now, let's talk Cam Reddish real quick. Cam Reddish has been fucking phenomenal. He's came back to life. I'm just kidding. He had a 26-point game, and that's why I'm acting like he's like the next best thing. But no, Cam Reddish is a guy who's been deserving of, I don't even know what you give him. I would give him a 1-year, $10 million extension and be like, prove it. He started 5 games, and I think so far There's been times when I've seen Cam Reddish and I've been like, okay, Cam, okay. But as a starter through 5 games, I know he's shooting 26% from three, 35% from the field. He's averaging a steal a night, 2 rebounds, about an assist and a half, and 8.5 points. I don't know what we should be expecting, but it should be able to get better. Tell me your thoughts down below, guys, but that's it from me. Peace out.